We're planning this.
Yourself.
I mean, speak it up.
Online, can you hear me?
Understand.
Just write yes if you can hear me.
Romanian, English, and French. What is
Anyone? Yes, thank you, Nazak. Thank you, Alexandra.
Wait, guys, the mic is on.
The mic is on, by the way. Okay, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, guys. How are you guys doing?
Very good, thank you.
I'll tell you after.
So happy to see you guys because I have a very important question to ask you. What did we, nice catch. So what did we remember from last week and what did we apply?
Positive mindset or right growth mindset or fixed mindset.
Okay,
Have to go for the growth because the fixed mindset is fixed, you know.
it's fixed, you know?
We wrote down the questions.
Yes. And how did that impact you this week?
Made me question.
Right? What did it make you question?
How I am, how I think, how I perceive things.
Mhm. And what was your biggest discovery this week of yourself?
So that I let the outside environment affect my mood a lot.
So how many of you allow the outside mood to affect you internally? Right? We're all human beings. So the first thing we need to do is be aware, right? I am aware my external environment affects me, right? So this week, that's happened to me. And guess what I did? Did I fall within that mood?
No.
I did for a second or two, and then I became aware of it. And then I said, is that the way I want to feel? Is it okay that this event will allow it to impact my life? or impact how I feel? Make a decision, yes or no. Right? What else have we learned this week? Anything? Anything?
Sun always comes out after a rainy day.
Sun always comes out after a rainy day. We're on the many rainy days.
I'm still waiting for the sun to come
The
out.
sun's coming out. I promise you it will. But shortly,
Short slip.
shortly. What about you? What did you want to share?
No, I wanted to make a comment. Like I understand in the moment that we're talking about the growth mindset and fixed mindset. The problem is how to apply to
Mhm.
change from the fixed mindset to a growth mindset and applying it in real. To like now. Like-
Yeah.
Like in the prospecting room.
So guess what? This is why we're here.
Okay.
The more we expose ourselves to this type of thinking, right, Alina? The more our brain shifts. We change. And then we look back and we're like, I wasn't this person 3 months ago. Who have I become? Tikitwa, right? Who are you? And so this is what we're talking about. If you consistently practice and you consistently are exposed to material, you will change. That's called neuroplasticity. It was proven many, many years ago that your brain can change. Whatever you think today doesn't have to be what you think tomorrow. All you need to do is do that one powerful thing called practice. Expose yourself to that type of material. Learn, practice, engage, do. How did that work for me? Did it go well? Yes, let's do it again. What else have we learned? What else have we learned?
I have to let go of the good to become you.
Ooh, how many of you did that do something in your mind? I had to let go of the good to be great.
It's very deep. Wasn't expecting that. Thank you for sharing.
Look, she's already shifting. Look at her go. Oh, coming this way. You have to let go of the good to become great. How many of you did that was really impactful for you?
Well, right now I'm letting go of the bad to become good.
Yes.
Step.
Yes, it's okay.
So,
That's still progress, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he asked me a very powerful question. How do I start having a growth mindset? How do I start cultivating that growth mindset? Now that we've identified what it is, how can we go out and get it? So I have a question. What makes you uncomfortable?
Prospecting.
Prospecting, write it on your piece of paper. Prospecting. Prospecting makes me uncomfortable. Okay. So now you've just checked in and now you're aware that it's made you uncomfortable. Now the question is, why? No one's looking at your piece of paper. Why do you think it makes you uncomfortable?
You're unsure, the unknown.
The unknown?
Yeah.
That's a good one. What else?
Rejection.
Yes, nobody likes to be rejected. What else?
You don't know what to say.
You don't know what to say. Oh my God, he answered the phone. What do I do now?
Yeah, that happens.
Also,
Even you have.
yes.
What?
Script in front.
What?
If somebody says yes,
Oh my God, what if someone says yes and says, come to my house right now? What do we do?
run.
Oh my God, okay, bye. And you run the other direction. Right? These are all concerns we have in our minds. This is why they're so difficult, but imagine if you were to write them all down. How many of you wrote them all down? And now you're aware. You know. Every time you come close to picking up a phone, I am gonna feel. And then I'm gonna feel. And then I'm gonna feel. And then I'm gonna feel.
Then I'm not gonna feel anything.
Yes. Do you remember what I was saying before? When I used to prospect, the first thing that I would do, I say 3, 2, 1, go. Bang, 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 pick up the phone and just do it. Because if I start thinking about it and then I start having emotions over it, and then after that, all of a sudden, you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
And if we just do it, we are growing our mindset anyway, even though it's boring.
So
But that's what he calls next time. That's it.
what if boring was okay? What if boring was okay? What if boring was part of understanding that some things just have to be boring?
Like what?
Like it's not really exciting to brush your teeth, right? It's boring.
But it's the opposite.
Not for you, but maybe.
Are we just limited by language?
Can you say the first part of the question?
Is the opposite of exciting boring, or are we just limited by language?
So we're going to talk about like,
Because a word, we use sometimes very basic words to encompass emotions that are somehow at the limit of. There might be emotions at the beginning of the spectrum of boredom that we can't properly describe because of a lack of proper vocabulary.
and they don't have to be polarity.
Yeah.
Just because something's boring or exciting doesn't mean that they have to be so extreme.
Yeah.
Okay, what we're talking about boredom now. So my question is it exciting to brush your teeth?
Yeah,
Okay.
it actually is.
The result is exciting.
Ah,
It's unconscious. That's the truth, though. It's
Yeah.
neither boring nor exciting.
the result is exciting. So what if you were bored while you did it, but the excitement at the end was enough for you to be bored? Right? It's an exchange. It's okay that I'm bored during the process, but the result is so exciting. If you're somebody who needs to live that much emotion every single moment of your life, right? You can justify it to yourself right now. Right now, I'm going to be so bored prospecting. And I know I'm going to be. But when I do have that person that says yes, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Are you guys okay with that? Are you okay to make that shift in your brain? How many of you in your brains are saying yes, but right now?
Of
Raise up
course.
your hand. I see it on your face. Yes, but what?
Yes, but why would I want to be bored?
Okay,
Why isn't my work fulfilling? Why isn't it stimulating? Why am I not feeling what all these other people that are succeeding are feeling, that sense of flow in one's work? Why do I have to settle for boredom?
because if I told you for you to have flow, you must learn. You must adapt to a specific activity of practice so that you can then find flow. So anything that you started, that's like saying, I'm going to get on skates and become a figure skater now. Why have I not found my flow? I'll teach you. Right? You see? Anybody want to become a figure skater? Raise up your hand. We've got one right here. Here we go. Here we go. We've matched it up right now. So the question is, what is the question? What is the question? What are we actually contemplating right now? Difficult to have boredom to reach to want to get to. Why does everything have to be exciting? What if there was a trade-off? What if you had to give some boredom to learn something and become a pro? We've spoken about this before. Do you think going to med school is exciting?
No, there's a whole bunch of.
Do you
boredom.
think that it's going to be boring? It's going to be difficult? It's going to be a lot of hours of studying and reading? And is that exciting? No. But you have to put in the time, the hard work. Does that help?
Yeah, good.
So imagine how many hours, how many of you have read, how many hours do you need to put in to be able to become a pro at something?
They say 10,000.
It's 10,000 hours.
They say, no, it's more.
Okay, so what if I told you, you go into prospecting with a new way? I need to put in 10,000 hours before I become good at this. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's pick up the phone. Let's put in some hours.
I mean, we'll be
Shit.
56 before we become good at it. So
We'll be what?
56 at least. Because we only cross for 3 hours a day. You know, that's 15 hours a week, 60 hours a month.
Well, you better
20
start
years.
practicing 12 hours a day.
20 hours a year. In 10 years, no, it's gonna take at least 15 years to.
Imagine how long it'll be for you to become a doctor.
Yeah,
Hmm.
15 years.
I have a question. Why all people, absolutely everyone and all of us maybe before, because we had jobs before, why would we invest 700 or whatever hours per year in an exchange of $50,000? And we don't think that, okay, it's boring, my job.
But no,
every
that's
day.
40 hours a week. So 40 hours a week comes up to about 160 a month.
Yeah, well, let's say
18,000 a year.
150 a month,
18,000.
we exchange for like $5,000, let's say.
Because you said something.
And we're okay, even though it's boring, but now that we have to prospect 3 hours a day, we say, oh my gosh, it's boring, I cannot do that, and the exchange is 10,000 per transaction.
You said the cookie. You had to think. You had to make that correlation in your mind. You had to think. That's all you had to do. You had to make the connection. If I want to become really good at something, I need to put in the time. I need to put in the practice. I need to put in the role play. Am I willing to do it for me? Or do I do it for you? Because you're going to put in the time no matter what. Or you can put in the time for distraction. One of our biggest distractions is our phones. They go off every 2 seconds with notifications. What else distracts you the most? Looking at other people's lanes. Guys, practice. Put in the time. You want to start logging something this week? Put in the amount of time that you're logged in to becoming the best realtor that can ever exist. And I'm talking about real time. I'm not talking about coffee machine time or cookie time or talking in the reception time, or I'm talking about real time. How much time do you actually spend time learning, practicing what you learned in application or in role play, and going out to get a listing and closing those deals and meeting customers? This is what's going to get you to become a pro. If you choose not to do those activities, guess what's going to happen?
You're not gonna become a pro.
You're not going to become a pro. So I ask you, what are the activities you do that make you uncomfortable? You said prospecting. What else is there?
Working out.
Working out. I'm so happy. That was my next example, right?
3 months.
Getting yourself to put on those running shoes. Did we try to put on the running shoes this week? How did that go?
Oh, yeah, no, it goes.
Yeah?
It goes, because I'm a machine, discipline.
Okay.
I try to, everyone knows I'm joking, I try to be, but it's uncomfortable, it's true, it's not fun.
The shoes are uncomfortable. Get new shoes.
The activity is uncomfortable. The activity.
Accountability.
The coach is waiting for you there, and if you don't show up, he charges you $50.
I'll show up, but it is nonetheless uncomfortable.
So imagine this. Imagine you're working out and you're at your 35th minute. Okay. You're exhausted and you're going for your 120th rep of, let's say, abs, and you've got 10 more to go. Sorry, 5 more to go to complete your actual set. You're exhausted. You got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to go. How painful are those?
Very.
Very. How many of you will quit before you do those 5? Raise up your hands, be honest. How uncomfortable are you?
Very.
Hashtag no pain, no gain.
How many of you? Yes.
I have a question because this kind of pain doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Another type of like pain, on the same level, let's say we're comparing the gym and the prospect
Sure.
pain. The pain of the gym, even if it's painful, it
Yeah.
doesn't bother as much as
So when you say bother, what do you mean by bother?
like
Make you
I
stop.
will push for the 5, even if I'm dying, I'll push for the 5 to finish the set.
Yeah.
But on the prospecting side, I have a lot more chances to not push and finish it. Like if we have, let's say, 10 minutes left, in the 2 hours of prospecting. Like I'm all spot half.
Okay, I'll speak up. Do you have something to
I
say?
have
about
a, yeah, I have a theory on why that might be.
Tell me,
One of them is very egocentric and the other one is not.
tell me.
Like, the gym, if you can physically not push anymore, your ego is not bruised. But your ego is constantly in check when you're calling a stranger. When you get rejected by a stranger, it's not up to you. I mean, you can decide how much you push, and when you cannot push anymore, your mind knows you can or you cannot.
I think what I understand from you, and it's like, because at the end of the 5 reps, you're satisfied, but the 10 minutes extra, like at the end, like.
You're not guaranteed to work.
Instant gratification.
That's much. That's
Yeah,
a better way
but
of
for
saying
me,
it.
it's about finishing what I start. It's not about the gratification, it's the sale.
About finishing what you started.
That's the biggest.
Those are two very valid points, guys.
That's the big joy.
So if we go and we look at those two, how many of you would have quit the last 5 reps, the last 4 reps? How many of you would have quit? Yes? Okay, same example. Same example, but for prospecting. How many of you, you just have 5 more calls to go, guys. You just finished a nice set of 40 calls. Your goal is 45, and you say, I don't need to go for my last 5. All the time.
I'm 28, my target is 30, I'm good. I did 28.
What about sticking to your word?
Oh,
How important is your word? And we're gonna get into language.
I was like, really, you're gonna stop right now and you're just feeling Blaze, which is like something in my head, but like, you really gonna stop right? It made me feel so bad. And I still didn't do them, so I felt like shit.
So Aisha, congratulations for that. Right? You had a choice to stop the that Adrian would have given you, but just picking up the phone. Which one's more painful? Now we know which one's more painful for her.
Thought, I was like, okay, do I do those calls? I was like, oh, but, like, it was painful to think that I had to dial 2 more numbers.
So what about that? Was it so boring she couldn't do the last 2 calls? Or is it because she couldn't stick to the consistency of finishing the calls?
Maybe if she had scored 1 appointment.
I had, but that's also why I was like, yeah, I had an appointment.
So imagine if there was another appointment on the other side of that line.
When I don't feel like it, and at the end, I'm like, you know what, one more, Asia, one more, that's only the one for me, like, it's magically.
Isn't that beautiful?
If you would modify your goal to 25, do you think you would hit it or you would stop at 23?
I would stop at 23.
So then it's a different. type of
Yeah.
problem.
What do you mean?
'Cause
What?
she said her goal was 30. and
Yeah.
She stopped at 28.
Yeah.
So I asked if you would modify your goal to 25, would you finish 25 or would you stop at 23?
Should stop at 23.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
then it's a problem of not seeing the joy of finishing what you start. It's different than
Yeah,
work.
when it comes to prospecting, I don't mind doing.
Because
my
you will have done
workouts,
20
I don't
minutes.
mind
Or allowing yourself to cheer. No coffee for you if you don't finish your 30.
The days I hit it, no
It's
problem,
called
but then
discipline
the
of
days
self.
How about putting the goal 35 or 33 and make it like 30?
Every single person here is different.
Yeah, I think it's just my brain into that. Yeah, well, I'll not do the cultivate review. Yeah.
Right.
We have it.
Accountability to your external environment. What did you want to say?
To reach that goal, just because you see the house, oh, maybe this is the house that I'm gonna, like, he needs to sell, right? So, I don't know, just to give a little,
Got a visual representation of your achievement. You don't want to cross it off.
You figure it out for yourself, guys. This is why we're here, guys, to figure out what works for you. You need to figure out. I'm not going to figure it out for you.
That's why I came to you here today. What are you talking about? You're gonna make it happen for me.
Now, I have another question. What else makes you uncomfortable?
Saying no
Saying no?
Yeah.
To whom?
to people.
To people.
Yes, one
Okay.
of them being myself. It's hard to say no. It's hard to refuse something. It's hard to build strength of character to the extent where you know what's good for you and what's not, and saying no despite the circumstance and the result of that no.
Who's uncomfortable by saying no to people?
Uncomfortable.
Wow,
I got real good at it.
wow. What about online? Just write online, if you guys just want to write just a quick, say, yes. If you constantly cannot say no to people, just actually write no. Please. I want to see, wow, there's a lot of people that have, okay. So somebody asks you for,
$10.
and you'll say yes.
I have $10.
This morning,
Trap me.
my client called me with an offer accepted. I wanted 11 freaking offers. I jumped over my head. He called me and they're very nice people. They're like, oh, Lina, well, thank you for submitting documents to the bank. Would you pay our notary? I said, no. I'm like, what the fuck? I said, why? I said, well, because I made over 30 transactions and I'm not paying 40,000 of notaries. Yeah,
how uncomfortable is that?
it wasn't pleasant, but it's.
What
it's a
was,
50/100.
what part was unpleasant?
The part that they asked me, like now, after all this shopping, after I accepted offer, after they were like on me, well, I don't want this house, whatever it takes, and we were not even the highest bidders.
So I have a question for you. If you were on the other side, would you have asked them, would you pay the notary?
Probably not.
I wouldn't ask, no.
You wouldn't ask.
The bank pays, and they ask you things.
Okay. So you know that saying that says, if you don't ask, you don't get? So why are we so bothered when people ask?
Because
Why
you're
do
just
we-
confrontation, that's why we're bothered.
Where's the confrontation?
Because you might fear that the person will take it the wrong way.
Oh, but what if you just said
and
no?
then create tension.
You just say no.
That way. That way, but if you
Totally.
come and you say no with pure confidence,
No.
you're good.
And then the person's be like, why?
Well, it's a skill you have to learn,
Ah, the skill of saying no.
not
How,
awkwardly so.
not, okay, the skill of saying no, en parenthèse, not awkward.
And it rhymes too.
So write it down. Guys, we're here to put together growth mindset. We need to have the target. What do you want to learn? Whether it's figure skating, whether it's learning how to say no, whether it's learning how to prospect, whether it is learning how to do the last 4 reps. We're here to gain the skill set on how we can go get it, stick to it and achieve it. So we become this new person.
I just realized because you were asking if you feel uncomfortable, and I'm thinking everything seems to be comfortable. But now that we spoke about this, I'm the person who's gonna make 1 hour on treadmill, and it's gonna be 59 minutes, 11 seconds, and I will stop. Because knowing that I have to do 10, like 15, 20 seconds more or 3 minutes more makes me feel extremely uncomfortable. Knowing that I have to make these 3 calls makes me so uncomfortable. It's like a rejection that I finalize my goal.
So you know what I do when I feel that? I say, too bad, you have an extra 5. Yeah, guys, you want to break a habit, break it. You want to break a habit, break it. This is an internal habit that you have. You are uncomfortable with the fact that you need to put in another 50 seconds.
So it's just discipline at the end of the day.
It's
That's it.
discipline, but it's not just discipline.
Apply.
It's like a recipe.
All right.
It's a recipe and discipline is just an ingredient.
Do tell us more.
Why is it like this? It's not half, it's not all process in general, but it's the very, very end
Yes,
that you just like losing.
Yes.
something.
Probably because
Yes.
you counted. You counted, you count the seconds.
Yes.
Yes, so what I do, I don't count this is-
It's for
Sure.
example, like Elias earlier, he was saying that if you can't lift more, then it's not your fault. But the reality is like I go to the gym and then when I do competitions, I would tell myself, you guys die. So if you actually try it, if let's say you did, you have 1 rep left and you're like, oh, I can't do it. If you actually were to try it, there's a good chance that you'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
Choosing to tell yourself that you can't anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's a mindset shift.
Of course. So imagine if you stop telling yourself, I can't anymore. Write that one down. What if you told yourself, I can't anymore, no longer exist in my train of thinking?
Should have said that with a British accent.
With a British accent,
I can't.
right? I can't is no longer part of your vocabulary, and we're going to be talking about the vocabulary you talk to yourself with.
But what if clients ask me to do visits on Saturday at 9 PM? What do I say?
So then you pre-qualify and find out, are they going to buy or are they not going to buy? Is it worth my time?
I mean, I need to say I can't.
They know
It's good not to say no.
that you're unavailable.
I can't when it comes to your own capabilities to self-accountability.
No limitations.
To self-accountability. Self-limitation. So what if you were okay with no longer using those words? I can't. That almost it made you feel uncomfortable to use the words I can't for yourself. I can finish my 4 last reps. I can finish the last 3 phone calls. I can find myself a successful plan for next year in my business plan. I can learn a new skill. Wouldn't that be like self-affirmations?
It would.
How many of you have your own affirmations? Yes? And they should all be customized. The ones that we do here in the morning are generalized for salespeople. They do a big shift. You do that for 2 years consistently, you come back and see me. You won't be the same person. So what else makes you uncomfortable? Are there any emotions that make you feel uncomfortable that right away?
Would it be stupid to say the feeling of being uncomfortable is uncomfortable?
Yes,
Like,
of
you have
course.
to learn to sit with the feeling itself, and then it moves through you, and then over time it kind of doesn't. affect you.
So then the question is, when you feel uncomfortable, how do you feel?
Well, you have to be aware and ask yourself.
Absolutely, but how do you feel? Example,
I get anxiety.
I feel alive. I feel alive when I feel uncomfortable, right? I was talking about this with Elias. We're talking about it today. What if the feeling of being uncomfortable made you feel alive? What if it was a challenge for you? Make me feel uncomfortable. Come on, try, come on. Right? Play with it. This is a journey of life. It's for you to experience the way you want to experience it. What about a triggered emotion of anger? You walk into the house, there's dirty socks on the floor. It's triggered anger. Why do you allow that to happen? Why do you allow a cue to then trigger an emotion that is undesirable? Why do you let that happen?
You're not aware of your triggers.
You're not aware. Why am I so upset about the socks?
It's because she put him on the floor on purpose. That's why. I told him how many times to lift it. I'm not gonna say, he was gonna know.
I know she did.
He's not
I
gonna-
know she
I
did.
know she did. I know she did. No, but is that not what that is? It's not, nobody's actually mad. when
So
the
now,
dog is on the floor.
What actually happened? There's socks on the floor, man.
Yeah.
So why you're triggered anger is because it's a
Sock on the floor.
lack of respect.
The lack of respect there. you go.
That's why you get angry.
Also, you associate that with, but isn't that presumptive?
Isn't
Isn't-
99% the way you think presumptive,
Yeah, but at the same time.
right?
Absolutely.
So think, what are the emotions that are triggered from you? And if they're negative emotions, make a decision for that to stop. Figure out, where does it come from? The socks on the floor is because it's disrespect. Right? So which ones? The sadness, the disappointment, the anger, the rejection. Right? When you get rejected, when somebody says no and hangs up on you, that rejection, what does that mean? I'm not worthy of. Really? So this person has like, her daughter just put her socks on the floor, you call, and she's like, no, I'm not interested. And she hangs up, and all of a sudden you're not worthy for anything for the rest of your life. Because you're just a reactive of what this person just lived with her daughter and their socks on the floor? Come on. Come on. How many of you see this happening in your life every day?
Absolutely.
I am.
Mhm. Are we willing to just be just part of that cycle? Or are we willing to say, oh, hold up, let's take a minute back here. What's really happening? Are they really rejecting me? Or they're just really upset about her daughter and the socks on the floor? But you don't know the whole story, so you take it personally. Watch for those things. So I'd like you to write down, what is that one emotion that you get triggered to every day that you'd like to remove, shift, change? Then the next question, and this is the one that's going to solidify it for you, is it worth me taking this road and overcoming this emotion, this blockage of prospecting, the last 4 reps, waking up in the morning, brushing my teeth, so that I change the way I think about that emotion, or the brushing of the teeth, or the prospecting? Is this work? If I were to see myself in a year from now while I'm working on it, is it worth my time? Is it worth my time? I want you to write down on it. I want you to write down right underneath, is this worth my time? And I want you to write down yes or no.
What, could you, one more time, what is what my time?
So you remember before I made you write down, like we spoke about different examples of what made you uncomfortable. And what if you were to make that shift where that was no longer uncomfortable for you? So for instance, the anger about the socks on the floor, that you no longer were to be angry. What if you found that self-awareness and caught yourself before you were angry? And would that be worth it for you to catch yourself every single time? So if the answer is yes, are you ready to commit to doing that for a year?
With the sock, you could just be mad depending on the day, because the root cause is something else that's ruining your day.
Which is what you discovered last week about yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, I think the first thing is to be emotionally aware of yourself, or what's the.
Correct.
root cause,
Bless you.
And then work on it.
Definitely. So now I
All the
ask,
questions you said, basically, you just need to answer them, myself, everybody.
Yeah.
And then figure out what's the root cause, and that's.
you need to find maybe one and say, you know what, if I stick to it, is this worth it? If it is worth it, then why don't you do it? Find it and do it. And so someone's going to say, but what happens if you don't do it, right, Adrian? That's what you're going to say. Someone's going to say it, right?
Here's like the whole philosophical thing,
Why don't we do it? Because no, he had an appointment today. Why? So why would we not do it? We don't care. We don't love ourselves. We don't really want the things we say we want. And we just want to live unconsciously.
But I think we don't believe on the results.
Ooh. So you don't believe in your ability to create a result. So you don't believe in yourself.
At the end of the day,
I was thinking about that in perspective. If you like one lead, it's about 60 calls. So what if you have maybe more than 60?
And what if you get 3 appointments and 60 calls? What happens? If you're going to play the what if game, we can play the what if game both ways. What if you never brushed your teeth and you never got any cavities? Are you going to go down that way?
Pretty cool.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
pretty cool.
Okay. Sure.
Hey, sold. I'm never brushing my teeth again. Kevin, what did you want to say?
Moi, ce que je voulais dire, c'est que des fois, on mixe tous les émotions d'une journée dans nos activités.
Bien sûr.
Like the socks, it pissed me off, it's in the morning. Okay, you have to like move on, and now you're doing prospecting. It's like, tu sais, recommencer à zéro dans l'échelle d'émotions.
Ouais. C'est un excellent point. Et je vais te dire le temps comme moi je le fais. En fait, c'est dans l'auto. Alors, quand je viens ici, après blablabla, enfant, machin truc, je prends ce temps-là pour que ça soit un reset d'émotion. Et je fais la même chose quand je retourne. Et je le fais activement, j'y pense. Je pense bien à comment est-ce que, how do I want to show up? How do I want to show up when I get home? How do I want to show up when I get to work? So having emotional resets are huge. I've been applying them for years and they've changed the way I show up. It's called preparation. Preparing for the other environment you're going in and find resets.
It's really good. I remember myself, my previous job, I always came back home, always like fighting. Just take deep breath before you just open the door and just, change your emotions.
Yes. Yes. And taking those 2 minutes of reset changes everything. It'll change your relationship with practically everybody. Right?
Yes.
And the other thing is don't bring your last call to the next call. Right? Right? Reset between calls. Reset between every door that you knock. Reset, emotional reset, guys. It's big stuff. Imagine you showed up everywhere you wanted to go the way you wanted to show up. That's another one that's a big one for me. I made a decision. I was always going to show up the way I wanted to show up. What about that one? What if you practice for the next year? Every time I go somewhere, I'm going to show up the way I want.
You always smiling, every single time I see you, you're always smiling.
Yeah, I'm just a happy person. But think about that preparation.
I caught you not smiling. but then you saw
Yes,
me,
that was 2 days ago.
Yeah,
Yes,
I saw it once, only once.
yes.
But then you saw me.
And then I'm like, hello, good morning.
Hello, everybody.
So my next question for you.
Make it a good one.
Will I allow my failures or my successes to define me? Will I allow my failures or my successes to define me? Vanessa, your face is so cute. Je suis pas sûre.
But is this one of the two, so that I understand the
Yeah,
question? Is
I'm not
this
sure.
one of the two, or is it either?
Either or. Are we saying like don't allow your failure or your success?
I'm asking you a very simple question. Will you allow your failures or your successes?
Oh.
They're asking where the comma is.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
So I know Adrian's gonna say both. Because that's what he says. But I want you to be honest with yourself. No one's looking at your piece of paper. I promise no one's looking at your piece of paper. I promise. Failure or success, make a decision.
What is that? Defines you?
You make a decision on what defines you, your failures or your successes. Your successes, okay? Of course.
When you say to define you, isn't it just a question of separating you as a person from those things so that it doesn't affect how you perceive yourself?
Yeah, so that's the other level. Okay, so right now, if you look at yourself, you say, do you count your failures or do you count your successes? Because subconsciously, we do that. And then we decide to keep them with us. And then they trigger what is called emotions. So if you stack up your failures, how are you going to feel?
Not good, but you don't have to stop.
Mm-hmm.
It separate from who you are as a person.
But you learn from it and become who you are because of those failures.
So you decide to bring over the lessons.
Yes,
Yes.
but not negativity.
But not the failure.
Yeah.
And this is where a huge separation comes in. You live an experience in which you didn't do so well. You take the lesson. Who remembers when Jeff Bezos took out the fire phone?
What?
Jeff
Because fire phone.
Bezos?
What's a Bezos?
The owner of,
I know that, but I don't know what inspired me.
No, really, no.
okay, nobody knows about it because it was a gigantic failure. They spent millions and millions and millions of dollars on it. And when he came for the press release, you know what he said? He said, what? What he said is if you guys think that the Fire Phone was the worst thing that we could have done as far as product launches, you have no idea what we're working on. There are so many more failures coming. Aha. You want to talk about somebody who's detached from their failures? There you go. If you don't try, you don't get. Right? So what if I were to tell you it was okay if you failed? Not only is it okay, as I want you to fail. I want you to get those no's. Because you will get those yeses. Something's going to work. Right?
Yeah.
You think Warren Buffett, every single time that he has an investment, it works? It doesn't. 50% of the time, it doesn't. But he keeps making money on that 50% that he does do well in. Ooh. Yes, it's huge. We're talking about people that have the bazillion dollars.
And I think also it's like the lessons learned. In general, people do it only when you fail. So you should do it on your successes too, because why was that call successful?
Mhm.
So just to level everything and give as much importance to the successes as the failures.
Absolutely. So people are more, they do that much easier with the successes. Yes. You know that one time when I did really well, and then you want to tell everybody about that one time when you did really well. Why? Why? If you come from a place of, I got my lesson from this. Whew, thank God it's past. But guess what? I went through that life experience. Everybody goes there. So that's why I ask you, which one do you allow to define you? Do you defined by your failures or are you defined by your successes? Because I always want you to take the lesson. Always. Every single time. Does that make sense? Any questions? So which one makes you more uncomfortable to associate with? Failure. But what if we switched that around and said those were actually your lessons? You would have never gained that experience. Guys, we're all here on a road of experience, experience after experience after experience. The only thing is that we hope that we gain skill through experience. Skill. Guys, we're coming into a market that only skill will survive. The question is, how dedicated are you at working those skills? Will you spend as much time as possible daily to arrive to your 10,000 skill, the 10,000 hours? Do not give up on yourself. Every time you don't go for the last 4 reps, you're giving up on yourself. Make yourself uncomfortable with the last 4 reps, the last 3 calls, because only the strongest will survive in this market. And you guys all have it. So don't give up. It's too easy to give up. It's too easy to look in other people's lanes. Skill set. Opportunity comes, gain skill. So what are the 3 skills you want to gain? For the next year, set yourself 3 skills you want to gain. 3.
I have a question. If I wanna practice being better at rejection, what would be the opposite of that? I know confidence plays a role, but I don't know. Is it acceptance? Is it a mix?
So, thank you. So what's the big deal about rejection?
It's not that it really bothers me, but in the moment it could annoy me. That moving forward. Sometimes I'm like, next, no problem.
Right.
Then one person is gonna be like, stop calling me, and I'll be like. I'll have to dial the next person.
Okay,
and
so
you know.
perhaps you want to consider a reset of energy right there. Instead of jumping into your next call, do something that will reset you. You do not need more than 3 to 4 minutes. Don't think you need half an hour, because then you lose momentum.
Yeah.
3 to 4 minutes, take a jog around the building, come right back. And do not keep reliving it during those 3 minutes. Oh my God, I can't believe that he said, oh my God, you let go. Let go, reset, come back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how many of you wrote your 3 skills? So I won't ask you to read unless you want to share. And if you do, then we can use that as an example.
Goal/result. I have a goal and I have to achieve it.
Sorry, somebody had their phones. Can you say them again?
Discipline, consistency, goal/result. Our goal has to be achieved.
Okay, so consistency. Who needs to be more consistent? So do we agree that there is no perfection in consistency? Yes? Oh, he's thinking about it. Wait a second.
No, that's perfect.
Oh, yeah, what is it?
That's literally like you said to do, I'm supposed to do this every day, I do it every day. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay, perfection for how long?
As long as
Forever. How many of you think that you can be consistent forever?
Oh, I'm not saying you can't. Perfection is there. Showing up and doing it, that's perfection.
Okay, so what if I said that progress daily was good enough to become more consistent?
Yes, I agree.
What if I said constant improvement to becoming more consistent every day was good enough? Would you guys be okay with that? Yeah? All right. So I want you to write that down. Consistency or whatever you have, progress and improvement every day is good enough. Because it goes back to that compound we spoke about last week, right? You compound that over compounding, guess what happens? Came up to what, 37%? It'll change in the year? Wow! You're not even gonna be the same human.
I remember I couldn't do a push-up. I could do like 8, 9, 3 reps, like 8, but it's so much better than what I
And how does that make you feel?
I was so strong.
Yeah, you look at you go. And how was the practice? Was the practice exciting?
Absolutely.
Absolutely not.
I
However,
remember when my coach was like, okay, go give me a push-up. I'm like, I don't know how. She's like, if you keep saying, I don't know how, you'll never make
see,
it.
I can't.
Yes.
So then you did 1 and then you did 3 and then
Yeah.
you got something called progress.
Yeah. I could
And you were
probably hit 10.
excited.
Maybe I'll challenge myself tonight to 10.
You got excited when you saw the progress and the improvement. But guess what? If she didn't keep trying, she would have never got into that. But the actual practice is boring. You decide you want to get there, it's going to be boring. But when you get there and you see the progress, guess what? You get on the phone, you pick up the phone, 5 calls in, you get 1 appointment. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. We think too much. And sometimes we think against ourselves instead of for ourselves. Right? So who's okay with that? Who's okay with that? With being able to say, it might be boring while I do it, but while I reach for progress and improvement, I'll get my little cookies on the way. And then finally, when you finish it, you're gonna be like, yay! We're looking for instant gratification when we start from the beginning, and the beginning is actually boring, so then we actually quit before we even started. You have a question?
They come out like, like the push-up, I mean, like the coach is gonna correct your form, right? But who's gonna correct the form of when you're prospecting?
Image.
Like that's a coach, but let's say realistic, it's not everybody that can afford, let's say, a coach in prospect, we know it's very, but ourselves, how can we, because we have to correct ourselves, this we practice, and how do we do that correction? Because we might do 10,000 hours, but if I'm doing 10,000 hours.
Wrong.
Wrong. Is it wrong, or?
So how about if I were to tell you, so every time you practice, you will gain something. Every time you come here and you hear other people, you'll gain something.
Yeah.
Every single time you'll stick to a schedule, come here, you will gain something. The minute you start doing that, and then you hear the conversation between Vanessa and Sana, and something clicks. Oh, let me go try that. And then you come to one of my classes and you're like, oh, I need to try that. Progress. Then you go to one of Fadi's classes and be like, oh my God, I've done this class so many times, and then all of a sudden I see something different. Let me go try it. So I can have Zimi stay next to you for an hour a day for the next 5 days, for instance. But what you will gain from what I just said versus having somebody will sit next to you, it's going to be your experience that you stack up one lesson at a time. If I have somebody sit next to you and say, this is what you do, and this is what you do, and this is, you'll be like, oh, too much, delete, delete, delete. Because you're not ready for that. Allow yourself to walk the journey.
I
Right?
think it's to be conscious that it takes a lot of time.
Yeah. And it's not easy for anybody. You just have to talk to people. I mean, I don't know who it was in my office, and I'm like, oh, imagine you just walk into the biostatic right now. Walk in and say, hey, wow, you guys got some cool products. Hey, or say, sorry, we're wholesalers. Oh, it really doesn't matter, but your products, oh, they seem really cool. And tell me this one, blah, blah, blah. And then you start talking to the receptionist. And the next thing you know, you're talking to 3, 4 other people. And the next thing you know, you might be selling them a house. Talk to people. Talk to people. Just not people here, because they're not going to buy a house from you. I promise. So I'm going to stop right here because the next point is long.
It depends if the house in the right price.
I guarantee you, if you speak to 18 people here, there's gonna be less people that are gonna buy a house from you than if you speak to 18 people out there. Do we have any questions? Questions? What are you guys gonna do this week? What are you guys gonna do this week?
Jello shots.
Okay, we can do jello shots. Improving skills. What skills? Do you have a skill that you're going to improve?
Saying no, that's a good, that's.
Are you ready to commit to it for a year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 year?
Yes.
What makes you uncomfortable? And if you look at what makes you uncomfortable, are you ready to lean into that?
Yeah.
What are you going to pick? I'm so excited to hear. I'm so excited to hear. Any other questions? Until next week?
Yeah.
Anybody online? Online, anybody?
Solid stuff.
Thank you.
Solid stuff.
Bye, guys.